In today's show, what inspires players to strive for better performance? And the sibling stars ready to shine in the finals. Hi everyone, I'm Mark Bickley and welcome to the Optus Crows Show as we count down to our first ever Good Friday game against Gold Coast. As we witnessed in the opening round, the return of crowds, particularly for home games, is not only a boost for the competition, but also a huge motivation for players. Like me, you would have been struck by the enthusiasm and excitement of spectators against Geelong. So, what was it like out on the ground?
Yeah, obviously it was awesome. It was a lot different to, I suppose, what I was used to last year. Obviously coming in last year was my first year of AFL and got to play in front of crowds, which was awesome, but certainly not to the level that it was on the weekend.
Compared to last year when we played round one, there was nothing there. It felt like a training session I should say. And the weekend was just insane. Our crowd is usually like that, but very loud and passionate, but it seriously sounded like a finals game. It was 45, 50,000. So it's amazing to have them back.
And roll like you never have before!
The crowd is a massive factor, and we've touched on it after the game about it. It's just you feed off the energy that the crowd has, and I think you can ask any of the players. You know, when you're bringing the pressure that we sort of brought on the weekend, you're kicking goals, it gives you an extra lift.
Even not just towards the end, but throughout the whole game, really. You know, they were right there with us from the start.
As we were going in off half time, you couldn't even hear yourself then because you went down the race. So, as I was sort of alluding to before, it's really special for us as players to be able to feed off that and get a bit more energy.
I suppose the intensity that we brought was really good, but then also the reaction of the crowd was even better. So, yeah, it was awesome to have them there, and yeah, the noise that they made was incredible, especially towards the end.
It was certainly one of the more memorable games in the club's history. Now, we'd expect players to draw inspiration from many quarters, but a book club? Senior players are indeed hitting the books to learn from the experiences of others in dealing with challenges and overcoming adversity.
So we had a book club, a 2020 book club, which kind of came out because we were trying to fill time when we were isolated for a few months and then not being able to meet much in person. So there are a number of guys I'd identified or had chats with, had some real interests outside of football. So there's been a few guys saying, "Oh, can you recommend a good book?" And someone had said they wanted to read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a you know what. And I hadn't read it because I thought, oh, is this book actually going to be any good? We put it out to the whole group and said, players, coaches, staff, anyone wants to read it in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to catch up for coffee and just chat about what we've learnt. So I've actually quite enjoyed it. I've got a little bit to go. There's some pretty good principles under there. I think everyone takes things differently. What I'm finding, I love to read, but we try and diversify that, share podcasts, whether it's videos, documentaries, just to sort of appeal to all different learners. Two people can read the same book and take away completely different things, or have completely different perspectives on the same thing. And that's what I find really interesting. When you say to someone here, listen to this podcast, let's have a chat about what we learn, you nearly get more value out of the conversation than you do from listening to it yourself, because you take other people's views. So creating conversations around non-football, non-personal things, whether it's Shackleton's book or a video on Jimmy Butler's leadership over at the Miami Heat, you start to get a feel for where guys' sort of innate biases are, or beliefs or passions, and that, I think, over time makes for great leadership, because you know yourself well, therefore you can understand and influence others better as well.
There's no doubt mental strength is such an important part of today's game. Stay with us. Still to come, the young man with an impressive football pedigree. Welcome back to the Crows Show. Few football families can match the record of the Sholls at the elite level. And the newest member is desperate to make his own mark. When Lachlan Sholl was taken by the Crows as a late draft pick in 2018, he followed his father Brett and uncles Craig and Brad into the AFL. In this segment, delivered by Thomas Farms, Brodie Smith gets up close and personal with young Lockie.
This week we're joined by Lachlan Sholl. Sholly, thanks for joining me.
Smitty Doggy, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Give us a bit of a background on how you got to the footy club.
From Melbourne originally, Metro Melbourne. Played junior footy out at Calder Cannons, and was lucky enough to be picked for the Nationals Carnival that they have for all the under 18s. Was fortunate enough to find my way here.
Right. Favourite player?
Probably Juddy, I reckon. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yep.
Outside footy, who do you live with? Give us the rundown there.
Last year I was with Butsy, so it was just me and him, one out. But we've had a third come in, Will Hamill, and he hasn't made life any easier. So.
Any dirt on the boys? So cleaning, cooking?
Butsy, he cleans up after dinner, but that's about it. He doesn't really. He provides very little. Will's cooking's terrible, so I pretty much pull all the weight in the house. Yeah.
Nicknames at the footy club? You've got a few. Give us a rundown.
Yeah, I have. Particularly in my first year, I sort of took on a few nicknames. Pipes was the first one, which was essentially just because I came in and did a lot of pipes, probably to my own detriment, really. Then I developed the nickname Drip, which for people out there that are a bit confused, it's actually to do with my fashion sense or lack of.
Yeah.
So some of the kits that I was rolling in to the club with were pretty average.
Yeah, your household's not really providing much in the fashion sense, are they?
Nah, well, Will's worse than me now.
He's terrible.
He's without a doubt. I've taken off, and I think he's gotten worse actually. So,
thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me, mate.
Each week this season, we're going to revisit a notable Crows comeback, and there's no doubt few can match that of the Big Texan in 2014. A serious knee injury early the previous year sidelined Taylor Walker for nearly 12 months. So when he made his return in a Sandful game at Glenelg, thousands couldn't wait to see him.
I had a lot of nerves throughout the day and had to try and calm myself down, but when I got there I was actually very relaxed, so really exciting to get back out there, and it's been a long 12 months.
He kicked 3 goals in a losing side, but he was back. And 3 weeks later, he made his AFL return, finishing the season with 34 goals. The understanding between a ruckman and his midfielders is critical to the success of any team. Sam Jacobs, for instance, enjoyed a close and successful bond with Rory Sloane, Scott Thompson and the Crouch brothers. And he reckons he gave Tomo an armchair ride that day against the Suns when he collected more than 50 disposals. So, what's the secret to a winning combination?
It's obviously a very important combination, as pretty much it starts the game in the centre circle to start the game with, and then obviously there's around 80 to 100 stoppages a game. So for me, it's something I took a lot of, or put a lot of energy into, because it's something that's really important around stoppages. Obviously to communicate when you're there, but obviously most importantly to execute as well.
Well, the possession brothers have been good again. Matt Crouch, Brad Crouch, and he finds McCallum.
I was once told by a coach who coached me early days, the best midfield normally wins the game. So it's a great combination. You see some amazing combinations across the AFL, and we've been lucky enough to have a few over our time here at the Crows ourselves.
O'Brien is a quality ruckman now. Murphy read it beautifully.
Every player on the ground has a role to play. We have a general plan going into the game. It doesn't always go that way. There's always a few boys that want to get the ball. Obviously the Crouch boys, for me and Tomo, always wanted to be the hit too, which is always good. But everyone's got their role in there. It changes throughout the game.
I think now you do a lot of work on structure, and depending who you're playing, it can be different. You're playing against someone like West Coast and Nat Nui's in there, you have to be a bit more defensive against guys like that, or if you get against the ruckman where Rob can get his hand on it, you can get more attacking. So we obviously do a lot of work in that stuff, but I feel like Rob's done a great job in the last few years of getting his hand on it.
It's great to see Sam Jacobs back at the club. Time for a short break, then Sauce joins us again for a catch-up with Courtney. When the AFLW competition launched back in 2017, young women around the country said yes to this great opportunity to prove themselves at the elite level. Courtney Cramey, for example, had been waiting for such a challenge for more than 10 years. Her superb skills and a positive mindset, together with dogged determination and hard work, saw Courtney named in the inaugural Crows squad.
Chips to the pocket. Thompson, quick hands, Cramey, tight angle, bends it goalwards, Courtney Cramey, what a finish!
Today we are joined by Courtney Cramey. Courtney, it started with yes for you when you nominated for the draft. How exciting was it, I guess, after having such a successful career at SAWFL and then transitioning to the AFLW?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge honour being drafted to the club that I grew up barracking for and loving and watching and following throughout my childhood. So to get that call and be told that I'd be part of that inaugural AFLW side at the Adelaide Footy Club was pretty amazing.
How'd you go, I guess, transitioning into the national competition and I guess learning how to adapt to that?
Yeah, it was all very different and new to all of us girls that had been part of state programs and pathways that existed at that time, and go into an AFLW competition where we were privy to all and exposed to all the things that came with being involved in the AFL environment.
How much have you seen the game grow through that period of success in the SAWFL?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started in the local league, there was 4 teams in that women's competition, and to see that growth and expansion off the back of AFLW being created has been huge. The participation rates have skyrocketed, and you know, we have problems of not being able to have enough oval space these days.
And the crowd just come up on screen, 53,034.
What are some of your proudest moments from your career?
Yeah, I suppose the 2019 flag was one of the most proudest moments to play in front of 53,000 people at Adelaide Oval.
The Adelaide Crows hoist the cup again. They are the premiers of 2019.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for sharing the moment that it started with yes. Thanks very much.
Thanks, North.
And while we're on the AFLW, there's a sister act that's got everyone talking. When Rochelle Martin was taken in the 2020 draft, no one was more excited than her sister Hannah, who was recruited 2 years earlier. They're now thrilled to be playing together as their team heads into the finals.
Target was Phillips. Here's Rochelle Martin going for goal. Crows are showing no mercy.
We haven't played together in a long time, so it was good to be back out there again after injuries and play together against Freo.
I think it was 2018 season, sample season, when we played together last, so obviously it's been a while since we played together.
Middle get is a good one, running into the open goal is Hannah Martin.
So we grew up in Milnerton on the York Peninsula, so obviously no football back there. So when I came to Adelaide to study in 2017, I convinced Hannah and Chelsea Vidal to come play footy, and so we went out to West Adelaide in the Sawful.
Very grateful to then move up into the Sample, which was 2018 season, so that was an inaugural Sample season for us.
Some run now for Westies. This is Hannah Martin.
Well, I actually robbed Rochelle of the Sample Best and Fairest. She was actually tipped to win the 2018 Best and Fairest, but
they got us mixed up.
I'm kidding. Obviously a huge honour to win that, and that's what really got me noticed to then get drafted.
Pretty rare to be able to be sisters in the same team. I mean, they're sisters in the comp, but not on the same team for this year, so it's pretty special, and our family's really proud.
Remarkably, Hannah and Rochelle have both won the SANFLW's Best and Fairest award. Now, Toyota's been good for footy for more than 13 years to support the game from grassroots to the elite. This season, Toyota wants to make the footy experience even better for everyone: spectators, players, umpires, coaches and fans. And they want your ideas. Just pop them in the Toyota suggestion box and Toyota will select the best and make them happen, because that's good for footy.
Led, traps it, bananas it, and kicks the goal of the afternoon.
So I started at Adelaide Football Club. I started there in under 9s, and then through the juniors I went through West Adelaide, under 13s all the way to under 18s, and then was lucky enough to get drafted here. My suggestion would be upgrades to the facilities, whether that's floodlights or extra lighting for night games and trainings. Looking at facilities, there's women's football obviously flourishing throughout all of the country, so getting extra change rooms or upgrade to change rooms, and I think things like that are pretty major to local clubs, and I think they make a big difference.
It's easy to make a suggestion. Simply go online to toyota.com.au/Gooder or scan the QR code. When we return, the fans have their say on the Crows Show. Every week we hear former players sharing their memories of past performances. This season we want to connect with fans as well, so each show will sit down with a member chosen on social media who'll recall their own favourite moment. Today, with the support of Bendigo Bank, we hear from Tom, who's obviously still emotional about the time he and his family thought they'd missed out on witnessing Crows history.
So there's nothing left now but to celebrate.
Being an inaugural member, you kind of just wait and wait and wait, and I suppose it's something they can't take away from me that I saw the first. My name's Tom Hales, and we're inaugural members, been with the Crows right through.
35 metres out, the Crows are in front!
I suppose it all started back in the preliminary final. We went to Melbourne, and about three-quarter time, and all these Bulldog supporters started disappearing. I said to one of them, I said, "Hey, where are all your mates going? We've got a quarter to go." And they said, "Oh, they're going to line up for tickets for next week's grand final." The wife and I decided then we had to get back to Adelaide. My son and daughter, Rachel and Andrew, were members. Sat them all on the phone. Come the time, bang, probably about an hour and a half later, put over the news that all the allocations gone. As a family, we made a conscious decision that we might not be able to be in the MCG, but we would be at the MCG for our first grand final. We packed the car up and took off for Melbourne, no seats. Got to about Tailem Bend, came over the news that there were a limited number of seats becoming available to Bulldogs and Crows members. My wife had a mobile, I had my mobile. I set my daughter up in the public phone box with all these coins. So I got back to the car, my wife was jumping up and down in the street. She said, "I got through, we got 3 tickets." And the rest is history. We were in the G and we saw our first grand final.
To the Adelaide Crows!
Thanks, Tom. So glad you could help make it a day to remember. Okay, time now to look out for our Toyota Crow in the crowd. And today, the lucky winner is you. If you recognise yourself, email faceinthecrowd@afc.com.au with photo ID to claim your prize. And what a prize it is, 2 tickets to Toyota's exclusive Hilux Hill Unbreakable Zone at Adelaide Oval. Terms and conditions apply, so check out our website for details. Matthew Nix is certainly keen to engage with fans and answer some of your questions. Today, Mark wants to know how difficult it was for him last year to maintain positivity within the group while dealing with the string of losses and COVID lockdowns.
Thanks, Mark, for your question. Look, the challenge is, when you underperform on a season, is keeping a positive environment. For us, last year, we had our challenges with that, as well as COVID. Going into 2021, we've worked really hard throughout the off-season. We've had an outstanding off-season from a playing point of view, the way they went about their training. There's no doubt they put in the work, so they're in a really positive frame of mind at the moment. As far as our staff goes, we've got a lot of new staff on board who bring great experience as well as enthusiasm. So at the moment, as a lot of teams would, we're really positive about what we're going to be able to achieve in 2021. The key to that is then, as the pressure builds, is staying in that space, is prioritising each other, looking after each other through, whatever the season brings.
Well, we're just about out of time on the Optus Crows Show this week. Thanks for your company, and remember to keep an eye on @TheCrows Show on Twitter for all the latest news, as well as the club's social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Join me again next Sunday at 3 o'clock when we'll look at the challenges and the rewards of coaching the least experienced squad in Crows history. Look forward to joining you then. Bye for now.